Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of In the Corner. I'm Cash. Today we have episode 133, and we have a very, very big episode ahead of us because we had so many big fights this weekend that we have to talk about. But not even just that, we had some huge breaking news. We're going to talk about Sean Strickland potentially getting a title shot against Khamzat Chimaev, stopping Fluffy Hernandez. We're going to talk about Ryan Garcia absolutely dominating Mario Barrios in Vegas and becoming the WBC welterweight champion. He's now a world champion. So we can always have that. We're going to talk about Conor Benn signing Zuffa Boxing and leaving Matchroom, which is maybe the most unbelievable of it all. And somehow, all of that gets topped because yesterday it gets reported by Mike Coppinger, and then it gets subsequently officially announced right after that Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao are going to rematch in a professional fight September 19th in Las Vegas at the Sphere, the first ever fight there, live on Netflix. I mean, wow. So obviously we had heard rumblings that this fight had been being talked about, and even being talked about potentially as a pro fight, but again, they were just all kind of reports and rumors. And then it gets announced that Manny Pacquiao is going to be coming back. He's going to be fighting in an exhibition in April 18th. Where it's like, okay, like what's really the point of this 10-round exhibition? Okay, we know that he'd returned against Mario Barrios in the summer of last year, had a draw there. He was in talks to fight Rolly Romero for his world title. So having an exhibition just felt kind of random. Then we hear that Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson are set for their exhibition on April 25th in the Congo, or at least tentatively so. We'll see if that happens. So we hear that, and then we hear Floyd just like a day or two before this saying that, yeah, I'm going to return to professional boxing after the Mike Tyson exhibition, saying he loves it, saying he wants to come back and he wants to have another professional fight. And we're like, what? Like, you're going to come back and try and win a world title? I have no idea. And obviously the talk is Manny Pacquiao. We know they were talking about it, but they both have exhibitions set, one of which has already been announced. And then this gets reported, and it's like, maybe they do end up doing that if they both get through their exhibitions in April. And again, they're exhibitions, they're not real fights. They're not going to have a winner or a loser unless somebody gets knocked out, but you never know what happens. So maybe once they get through that, maybe we'll talk about it. No, they announced it immediately after. This is 7 months from now. They're going to fight at the Sphere, which is incredible. The UFC at the Sphere is one of the best events we've had in combat sports, and I think it's super cool. Boxing's going to go there. Of course, Netflix is promoting this fight. They're the only place that can really get it together with the amount of money I'm sure is on the table. Considering Floyd Mayweather, even Manny Pacquiao, considering the Sphere. The most interesting part of it, we don't have a promoter for the event. No MVP, no Ring Magazine. Nobody has been announced as the official promoter. Both Mayweather Promotions and Pacquiao Promotions are on the poster, like in the corner, because of course they're in the fight, so they'll be promoters. But neither of them are necessarily major promoters that will promote an event at the Sphere. I don't know if this is Netflix just kind of putting it together themselves. It's really weird to me. And again, we're 7 months out, but is this a Turkey thing? Is this a Zuffa boxing thing? With their big events like they did Canelo Crawford. I don't think MVP is involved in this. It's just so odd to me. But look, Netflix continues to make huge events. This one could be bigger than them all. Mayweather Pacquiao was like the biggest fight 10 years ago, and then we had our version of that with Canelo Crawford. Now they're rematching in a pro fight. I can't believe it. They're both like 49, and they're still kicking. I'm shocked that Floyd Mayweather is returning to professional boxing. This is insane. It's a 12-round fight. We do not know what weight class it's in. My guess is that it'll be like 154. I don't think that they'll go back down to 147. We know Pacquiao can. I don't know if Mayweather does. So 154 would be my guess. Who knows? Maybe it may not even be an actual weight class. It may just be like 155, 156, whatever catch weight they want to do. It doesn't really matter. I don't know if the winner of this goes on and stays in professional boxing. I kind of doubt it. But man, I cannot believe that Mayweather and Pacquiao, when they fought last time, they were both at the end of their professional careers, it seemed. And here they are 11 years after that. 11 years later running it back. It's unheard of. It's insane. I'm blown away. I can't wait. I know it's silly. I know it's a gimmick fight, but dude, this is insane. All right, let's talk about the biggest fight of the weekend. Ryan Garcia, Mario Barrios. Holy shit. Holy shit. Look, going into this fight, I think most people picked Ryan Garcia. But I also think that everyone was like, Mario Barrios, he could be underrated. We give him a lot of shit. Ryan, you never know what kind of Ryan you're going to get. Sometimes you get the Ryan that shows up against Devin Haney and he's a killer, but then he's on PEDs. Sometimes you get the Ryan that shows up against Rolly Romero and just spars and is an absolute dud and doesn't come alive for fight night. And we got the Ryan Garcia that was better than both of those. Maybe not better than the Devin Haney one because he beat up Devin Haney. He was a pound for pound talent. But the guy who comes in and knocks Mario Barrios down in the first minute of the fight, and it's like, oh my god, is he about to blow him out in one round? It's a flash knockdown. He doesn't go for the stoppage really, which I think was actually smart. I think that he played his game really smart, and he was aggressive. He was not giving Mario any time to breathe, just dominating him. He won every single round, showed that he is a world-class level fighter, and that Mario Barrios is not on his level. But he also wasn't careless in there. He knew that Barrios did have some power, and didn't want to get caught like he did in fights like with Gervonta Davis and even Rolly Romero getting dropped there. So I think he played it smart. I think that his dad did a really good job in the corner of calmly telling him, like, okay, yeah, you're doing good. Let's do this. You're doing that. And Ryan's like, okay, he's listening. Ryan was actually listening. Where a lot of the complaints have been that Ryan doesn't listen to his coaches, and the reason why he hasn't worked out with a lot of trainers is because he doesn't listen to them. And he wants to be the star of his own show, and that the thought was, with his dad, he's the one who's in charge. And maybe that is so. But that his dad did a really good job because he knows his son. He knows how to calmly instruct him, and did way better than Teofimo Lopez's dad did. That's for sure. So I was really impressed with that side of it. And I love Joe Goosen saying in between rounds, like, look, it's evident we're not winning this fight. I think that we know Mario Barrios was the worst world champion in the sport probably, and it just showed that we were just waiting on the right contender to come in and beat him up. And Ryan Garcia was that guy. He's now a world champion. And his post-fight interview was great. He was very mature. He wasn't crazy anymore. And he's talking about, I would love to fight Shakur Stevenson. I would love to fight Devin Haney again. Look, it seems like Ryan and Shakur are moving towards a fight. I don't really get that because Shakur would have to come up in weight. I think he'll try to bring Ryan down to a catch weight, which I don't know if that happens. I don't know. It's just both these guys are coming off huge wins right now, and they're both superstars, so it does make sense. I would love to see it. I think Shakur does beat Ryan, but the one that makes most sense to me is the Devin Haney rematch. That rematch is so big, and we've talked about it for so long, and you have it right there for you. And they're both world champions now in the same division, so it's a unification match. Whereas before, the rematch wouldn't have even been for a world title. It would have been like a catchweight. Here it is now. They're WBO and WBC welterweight champions, and you have a perfect fight right there. He can also rematch Rolly Romero and have a unification there. And he could fight Conor Benn. That's the one that seemed like it was going to happen until Conor Benn signed with Zuffa, which we'll talk about. But man, I mean, Ryan Garcia has all the options in the world. I'm really impressed by him. I thought this was maybe his best performance. Again, hold the Devin Haney one, but that one gets taken away from him. Really, really impressed by Ryan Garcia. The undercard, we'll talk about it now. Richardson Hitchens. He was meant to fight Oscar Duarte in the co-main just hours before, pulls out with an illness. Obviously, everyone is assuming this has to do with the IBA or the IBF's second day weigh-in. They make you weigh in 10 pounds within that limit. So, of course, the fight was at 140. Day of the fight, you can't weigh more than 150 in the morning. This is what they do for all their title fights, all their title eliminators. And it's a big issue. We know a lot of people struggle with that, and then they get pass out and stuff, and the fight gets called off, and it's just another one. I understand why they do it. They do it so that you can't be a weight bully, which makes sense. But on the same hand, it's like, dude, come on. Like, everyone is going to... The thing with boxing is that you're always going to have weight bullies, because as much as you get rid of other divisions like Zuffa Boxing does, the guys at middleweight are still going to try and cut down to welterweight to have a size advantage. It's just what they do. And the second day weigh-ins are very, very risky. It's unhealthy. It's dangerous, as we saw here. The question is now, does Hitchens move up to 147? As we know, he's talked about. If he's going to, I think this is the time to do it, as everyone saw. Apparently, everyone's saying, oh, he made the weight comfortably, which he did. He did make it. But then it was something else after. I don't know. There's rumors that they've been, not Matchroom, but just Richard Hitchens' team and Golden Boy have been talking about a rematch. I don't know if that happens. I don't think it's a fight that needs to happen, even though it is a good one. I do feel for Oscar Duarte. I hope he gets paid and everything. But, yeah, that was very disappointing. The rest of the card was solid, though. I mean, Gary Antoine Russell and Andy Hiraoka, very, very close fight. You can have it going either way. The thing is that Russell took all of the early rounds, and Hiraoka didn't start fighting until the fifth round. And then once he does, I thought that he won the majority of the back half of the fight. He may have even won it in the end. But because you didn't do anything for those first few rounds, all those rounds go to Gary Russell. Even if they were close, they go to him because he was actually doing stuff. But I thought that it was a really fun fight. I wouldn't be mad if they ran him back. I hope Hirooka gets another opportunity because, I mean, I don't know if the jet lag had anything to do with his performance. It's possible, but I thought he was fun enough to watch, and I thought Gary Russell looked really good. He says he wants unifications. Doesn't want to go for Shakur yet because he feels he has to earn that, which I kind of respect. Saying he wants to fight Hitchens or he wants to fight Dalton Smith. I would love to see him in a unification. I just hope he actually fights a second time this year. It's been once a year for the past 3+ years. So hopefully that changes. Moving on from there, let's talk about Frank Martin here. Albright, fantastic fight. Like, great watch. These guys came for everything. Martin was telling Albright before the fight, you're going to meet me in the middle of the ring, and he did that. And it was really close. And here, Albright is on a great run, upsetting Kelvin Davis and then scoring a draw with Frank Martin. A lot of people think Albright could have done enough to win that fight. I think he was either 95-95, or I think I was actually leaning towards Martin. I can't remember. Again, it's just because Martin, I thought, won a lot of the early rounds, and then Albright wins a lot of the back half. He kind of even hurt Martin in the 10th round, so it was a really fun one. That is a fight that I think needs to be run back because it was just such a great watch. And yeah, Albright is showing that, like, no, I am a really good guy. I thought he was just a good American level fighter, beating Kelvin Davis, but here he's with Frank Martin, a guy who is not the world champion or anything, but is a world level fighter, and he put on a great show with him. So I enjoyed their fight. Bektimir Melikuziev dominating and stopping Sena Agbeko in the 7th round. I was impressed by him. We all knew he was going to beat Agbeko, but he was a smaller guy, and he beat him up. I think that he's ranked like number 3 with the WBA, 2 or 3, and with Armando Resendiz losing his fight against Jaime Mugia, it feels like Melikuziev, if he's ready, he did get cut. If he's ready for that May 2nd card with Zurdo Benavidez, where we know they're trying to get a fight for Resendiz, he's the perfect guy to throw in there. That's another PBC versus Golden Boy matchup. I think he deserves that opportunity. We'll see what happens. Amari Jones continues to just prove that he's a really good fighter, stopping Luis Arias, I believe 4 rounds, having him quit after the 4th. He looked great. He's a really powerful and fun fighter to watch. I believe he's now 16-0 with 14 knockouts. So hopefully he gets a good fight next. I mean, he's at middleweight. Middleweight's a bit of a wide open division. He could walk into a world title fight in the next year and a half to 2 years, honestly, if he keeps on winning like this. And then you Muhammad Al-Kel get another stoppage. Joshua Edwards goes the full distance for the first time. His opponent, Colantonio, is getting a lot of love just because he was a funny, kind of fun character. But yeah, overall, good card in Vegas. It sucks we lost that co-main event, but I was really impressed by Ryan Garcia in the main event. All right, let's talk about it. Conor Benn to Zuffa boxing. Oh my goodness. I almost dropped the podcast, like an emergency breaking news one on Friday night when this dropped, because I was just blown away. I mean, Conor Benn felt like he was the face of Matchroom almost going forward. With Anthony Joshua on his way out, Katie Taylor on her way out, it felt like Conor Benn was the guy they were putting a lot of their stock behind. They got him the Eubank fight. They stuck by him through all the egg stuff, all the PED accusations, all of it. They held his hand. They did everything for him. Eddie Hearn put everything on the line to protect this kid and to promote him. And it felt like they had such a good relationship, and they were more than just promoter-fighter. It felt like they were friends. And then you see that all week, it felt like the Matchroom Zuffa tension was really rising, and it's now personal, and Dana no longer likes Eddie, and Eddie probably no longer likes Dana. And then you have all of this stuff, and then Zuffa, who already took Jaya Pataya from him, which was big, they take Conor Benn, who I think is a much bigger blow. And when Jaya Pataya was taken, Eddie was like, yeah, I mean, we didn't really have a contract with him anymore. If I'm being honest, we weren't able to deliver him. We were trying. So if he thinks that that's where he needs to go, that's okay. Like, we were not able to get him what he needs to get. Granted, I don't know if Zuffa's going to be able to do that because he says he wants undisputed. Zuffa's not going to do that, but I'm okay with that. With this one, it was personal, and they said as much. Eddie saying that he was devastated, that he tried to talk to Conor, that this was all kind of done behind his back, and then he heard from the lawyer a few days before the announcement. Eddie tried to talk to Conor and said, I think I deserve that, and Conor said no, which is insane. I mean, Conor says thank you to Matchroom, says he wants Eddie to continue to be a part of his career, and somehow, I don't get how this happens. Look, we're hearing that it's a one-fight deal, and that one-fight deal is worth $15 million, so that already $15 million to pay in this guy, which, I mean, he is a superstar in the UK. We're hearing that Zuffa wants to come to the UK and that they're working on a big broadcast deal, likely Sky Sports, and that Conor Benn is to debut by May 31st in the UK. So it seems like they're getting stuff set up there for a big fight, the first big outside the Apex show, an international show as well. But you have to also question with the UFC guys. UFC fighters don't make anywhere near that kind of money. With people like Sean O'Malley mentioning, like, yo, why is he getting paid that much? Like, that's kind of crazy. I feel like we should get paid more. UFC fighters don't get paid that much. Demetrius Johnson saying, like, yeah, why? I mean, I've never even heard of Conor Benn. I heard he's a good boxer, um, but Ilya Taporia, Alex Pereira, Khamzat Chimaev, they're not making this much. And it really is starting to what Eddie Hearn had been saying is like, look, I think the UFC fighters are going to revolt when they see how much money Zuffa has to pay these boxers to get to come to them. They're going to be like, why are we not getting that much? And it's true because guys like Ilya and Alex are bigger names than Conor Benn is. At least Alex is probably. Conor Benn is a huge name in the UK. I don't think these guys are selling out stadiums here. They're not. But in the UK, Conor Benn's a huge name internationally. Not a lot of people in the United States know who he is. So it's a very, very interesting world we're living in. I cannot believe it. I feel bad for Matchroom with how much they put behind him. Maybe Conor Benn ends up going back to them. I can see it if it is a one-fight deal. I don't see Zuffa Boxing trying to. Maybe they're going to try and convince him afterwards to sign a $20 million deal for like 5 fights, something like that. You know, it's going to bring it down a lot. I don't know, but um, Conor Benn right now with the amount of money he's making, he can only really fight on Ring Magazine shows. We'll see if Eddie's ever if they Eddie and Frank Smith are like, yeah, we'll take you back in with open arms, or if they're like, nah, man, we did everything for you. And he's saying that I don't know if Nigel's behind this. I don't know if Nigel's proud of this. I don't think that he is. It is wild. It's absolutely crazy to me. It is the craziest news. This is crazier than Mayweather Pacquiao too. Maybe. What a weekend for the sport. Just so much happening. Who does he fight? Who does he fight? They're gonna have to sign someone for him. He says he still wants to fight Ryan Garcia. He calls out Ryan Garcia at the fight on Saturday. And it's like, dude, you just signed with the organization that doesn't support world titles. And now you're saying you still want to have a world title. It's just like, do people not know what they're doing when they're signing with Zuffa? What it means? Because Jabatai said the same thing. I don't know. It's crazy. We're also hearing that Andy Ruiz is set to be signed by them. They announced today their whole list of all their signed fighters. Some people on there I hadn't heard of. Everybody that was rumored to have signed essentially is like Mark Magsayo, Odebek Komatov, Edwin De Los Santos. All those guys are signed. But most notably, Shane Mosley Jr. is on that list. We hadn't heard about him. He's a really good middleweight, probably top 15 guy in the world. So that's a great signing by them. Maybe he's somebody who fights Callum Walsh or something like that. I have no idea. But yeah, really, really crazy times. Andrew Ruiz, I think, makes sense at heavyweight, and him and Efe Ajagba. Maybe they fight for the Zuffa heavyweight title. I don't really know, but it's crazy.
All right, let's get back into the other fights we had this weekend because we still have a lot to talk about. UFC Houston, uh, overall, was a very boring prelim set, and then you get to the main card, and it's very fun. Sean Strickland dominates and stops Fluffy Hernandez in the third round. I mean, Fluffy Hernandez is a guy that I had picked going into this fight. He's very explosive. He's very exciting. He's got great wrestling. Almost the antithesis of Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland just kind of jabs and teeps. And look, that is very effective. He's really good striking. We saw that in this fight. But it felt like Fluffy was going to come in here and just kind of put the pressure on him, kind of like DDP did, and just go balls to the wall and see if it works. He kind of tried that, but Strickland just had a better game plan. He was the smarter fighter, I would say. And the first 2 rounds, it was definitely looking like it was on the up for Sean Strickland. He was looking very, very clean. And then you get to the third round, and that's when he starts to put more power behind his shots. Knees him. He hurts Fluffy, and he finishes him. I did not think he was going to finish Fluffy Hernandez. I was very, very impressed. I mean, Fluffy's only like an 8-fight win streak, and he just snaps that. It shows that he is still a top middleweight. We thought maybe he's on the decline. Hasn't looked good since the Izzy fight, really. And then looks great here. This performance almost just as good as that. And now it feels like he's next for Khamzat. Look, I think Nasruddin Imavov has earned that title shot. I think that he should get it next. But if I'm being honest, with Sean Strickland coming in here, beating Fluffy, who was like the guy in the division, Strickland and Khamzat having a rivalry, their smack talk has been great. Sean Strickland is a far bigger and more marketable name than Nasruddin Imavov is. That fight has not yet been booked or anything, and while I think Imavov deserves it, he's been sitting out. It feels like the UFC is now going to make a play to do Khamzat versus Strickland, and I kind of think that's a good play. I think it's a great fight. I think Strickland may have a better chance than Imavov does. I don't know. The only thing is that Imavov does get kind of ripped off here. He hasn't fought in almost 6 months, just waiting for Khamzat, and now he's not even going to be the one to get it. You can have him fight Brendan Allen, I guess, to keep him stay busy. Who knows?
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Strickland gets the next title shot here. I really wouldn't. Co-main event on that, Uros Medish knocks out Jeff Neal in the first round in like the first minute. Very, very impressive. That guy is so much fun to watch. He says that apparently UFC could be going to Serbia this summer in Belgrade and says he wants to fight Leon Edwards there. I like that. We got a new guy in the top 15 of welterweight. Um, Leon's on a 3-fight losing streak, so he would have to be in that realm of fighting a guy like who's ranked around number 12, like I assume Medish will be ranked. And so when you have that, the question is like, well, would they risk Leon going on a 4-fight losing streak and getting knocked out again? You know, they don't want to have him have 3 finished losses in a row, but I would not be mad at that at all. I think he deserves a big opportunity. Before that, you had Melchizedek Costa finishing Dan Ige at the end of the first round with a head kick TKO. Dan Ige, I mean, I thought that he looked solid in that round. And then, I mean, that head kick, he like literally put his hands up just to hold it. He was like that really hurt him. It wasn't, I mean, it was weird. Uh, Dude, this guy Melky Costa is on some run. I think that's like 6 in a row, 4 finishes in a row. He's going to now be ranked at featherweight. Very, very fun prospect coming through. Sergey Spivak and Ante Delia, I just want to give them a lot of applause because they had a heavyweight entertaining fight. Heavyweight has been so shit all year. No good fights. Every fight we have is so boring. It goes the distance. And here we have, except for Waldo, I guess. But here we have it, 2 guys, 15 minutes, and they're actually throwing, and they're actually making a fun, entertaining fight. Sergey Spivak upsets Ante Delia. Holds on to his position. I think he's like ranked number 7. Delia, that's now 2 losses in a row, and he had some momentum. But Spivak shows that he's like just a mainstay in the top 10. When you think he's about to go out, he stays in. And he did so a lot of which striking, standing up. Didn't even have to wrestle as much, which is what we thought he was going to be. I had him winning 29-28. I thought it was a great performance, and he'll have a good fight next. Also on the main card, Jacoby Smith knocking out Josiah Harrell in the first round knockout. Again, just what an incredible prospect he is. Michel Pereira gets the win over Zachary Reese, which I thought was unjust. I did not think he won that fight. I thought Zach Reese won it 29-28. I gave Pereira the first round. Second and third went to Reese. Felt like they were just kind of giving up Pereira a nice going out gift. I think this is his last fight. Did I hear them say that? Oh wait, no, I'm getting him confused with somebody else, aren't I? I am. But yeah, so I don't know. I didn't think that Michel Pereira won that fight, but it is what it is. Carlos Leal, dominant win over Chidi and Joquani. Alibi Adira's dominant win over Ode Osborne. Thought that was pretty good. Jocelyn Edwards, second round submission. She was the only finish on the prelims, I believe. Yeah, I mean, overall, this was an okay card. The prelims overall were kind of boring, but main card definitely lived up to it. And yeah, I had a very fun time with it. Let's go over to the UK. Leigh Wood dominates Josh Warrington in their rematch. I had him winning 118-110. Really, the whole way through, I only gave Warrington rounds 2 and 5. Just as the fight went on, it was just completely one-sided. Look, both these guys are at the end of their careers. One of them is less washed than the other. I think Wood does still have another good fight or two in him. However, he did say this could be the end in Nottingham with a sold-out crowd beating his rival. It does feel like it's a good way to go out on. I hope he retires, but I wouldn't be mad if he stays on, especially if Mick Conlan wins next month. That's another big fight where you can kind of sell it the same way as this rematch, where they're both going out on their shields, one last fight. Warrington also leaves the door open, but says, I mean, for him, it's got to be the end. He's had way too many losses in the last couple of years. He's looked terrible here. I thought the corner could have pulled him out in the back half just because he wasn't having any success. He goes the full 12, but yeah, this has got to be the end of Josh Warrington. Retire while it's still your choice and before you get hurt too bad. I don't think there's anything shameful with going out on a loss, and I think that's the end for him. Co-main event, Bilal Fawaz, wow. I mean, I thought that he was down at the end of halfway through the fight. I had Davis up 6-1. And then from that point on, Fawaz just wins every round. And I don't know if this was, I mean, Davis seemed like he was just the better boxer, had a better game plan. Fawaz wasn't doing much. And then Fawaz starts boxing really well. And Davis he just loses. It's like he just stopped fighting. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got hurt. But he's just standing there just getting hit with these punches. He's just plodding forward. It's like, what are you doing, dude? It was very, very disappointing to watch as a fan of Ish because I know that he's good and I know he's way better than that, and I just didn't know what he was doing. But look, credit to Bilal Fawaz. He's now British and Commonwealth champion, where a year ago he was, barely got a draw in an English title fight, and now he's beats that guy in the rematch, then beats Ishmael Davis. And now people are talking about, okay, well, Sam Egginton's about to fight for the European. Maybe he fights the winner of that. which I don't hate. I mean, he signed with Matchroom. He's got these titles that mean something. So very, very impressed by him. He's on a great run. Sandy Ryan ekes out with a decision win over Carla Zamora. I had it a draw. I thought Sandy Ryan in the end was enough to save it, but she was definitely losing. I mean, Zamora's like what 12-10, and she was kind of bringing the fight to Ryan, and Ryan felt like she didn't know what to do and was just getting beat up. And then Sandy Ryan does come around, and I give her the last 3 rounds of the fight. That makes it a draw. Two of the judges gave it to her 97-93, which is laughable. If anybody did win that fight, it was Carla Zamora. So saw Michaela Mayer kind of talking some smack on social media. I'm sure everyone is, but yeah, definitely not the best performance from Sandy Ryan. Aside from that, a knockout win for Dave Allen and Leo Tang both in the first round. Dave Allen in the first like 10 seconds, so he had a huge pop with the crowd. I hope he gets a British title fight next, something like that, because him fighting on a 6 rounder like this, it just didn't really need to happen. Leo Tang though looks good. That was his first 6 rounder. Only needed 1 minute, or sorry, only needed 1 round. But he'll be back out April 18th on the Calma Smith David Morrell card, as will Molly McCann. Thought she had a decent performance, won every round. Teammate Aiton had her first competitive fight. Only won 77-75, but definitely still won. She fought Catherine Ramos, who I believe was like 8-3 or something, so a solid record. And Aiton is wanting to get to a world title shot like this year. I don't know if it happens this year, maybe early next year, but I think she's a very, very solid prospect. This was her first time going the distance as well. And similar to Joshua Edwards from earlier. So, but I thought she looked good. I really think that she still fought very well, and again, I'm a big fan of hers. And then Joe Howarth gets a decision win as he's going to fight Josh Blenkiron for some kind of title. I think it's the English title. Or no, it's an eliminator for the English title just next month. Or no, it's start of April, sorry. And then we also had Claressa Shields dominate Franchon Cruz-Dezurn in a very, very fun fight. These two were friends. Then they had beef out of nowhere in the build-up to this fight. It seems like that's been squashed. Claressa proves once again that she is the GOAT, or at least in contention so with Katie Taylor. With Katie Taylor on her way out and Claressa dominating Franchon, it feels like it should go to Claressa, at least right now. I don't know. I'm okay with Katie still being number one. It's always going to be decisive who really is the best between those two, as they can't fight because they're like 30 pounds apart. But I thought Franchon looked good in those first 2 rounds. I thought that she was really going for it. They both came out swinging, but Claressa was just way quicker than her, way sharper, way stronger, had better cardio, and was just kind of beating her up for the majority of the fight. But Franchon hung in there. I gave Claressa every round. I think all the judges did too. Again, she had a little bit of success in those first 2 rounds. It was actually competitive. I think Chris Mannix gave her the second round, but beyond that, it was all Claressa. She sold out that arena. She's got real, real star power. And you have to talk about what's next for her. She calls it Shadeja Green, which that's a fresh matchup, makes sense. They also talk about Michaela Mayer, which they were trying to push. And yeah, I mean, Michaela Mayer's a lot smaller than her. They would meet at around 160, 162, they were saying. I would love that fight. I think Shadeja Green makes more sense. And I think Mayer versus Price makes more sense. But Michaela Mayer and Claressa Shields are ranked number 2 and 3 in the Ring Magazine pound for pound. And when you have the opportunity to do a fight like that, it makes all the sense in the world, so I'd be down for it. Atif Oberlton beats Joseph George because George collapses in between the first and second round, just passes out. We don't know why. There was a headbutt in the first. People think that's kind of what caused it, but really, really scary scenes in Detroit when that happened. Oberlton gets the win, but not the way you want to have the win, of course. He's now, I believe, like WBA Continental America's WBC USA champion, something like that, at 175. I don't know if he signed with Salida, but he'll probably have a decent fight next. But yeah, hopefully George is okay. I believe he was able to walk out of the ring, went to the hospital. He's in stable condition, so I think that he's all good, but just really, really weird, and it was scary to see him just collapse like that in the ring out of nowhere. Moving on from that, we also had Danielle Perkins knock out Shay Kennelly in the 6th round. She stops her, hits her with a huge shot out of nowhere, and it was competitive. I did have Perkins up at that point, but it was competitive, and it shows. And she said afterwards, like, yeah, I'm not as good as Claressa. And she showed that. But look, if I can be number 2, I'll take that. And none of these other girls can beat me at this weight class. I'm WBA champion now. And so she is WBA champion at 175. It seemed like they wanted Shay Kennelly to win so she could be an opponent for Claressa. And Perkins just stopped all that. She cut her bad on the lip. And Kennelly didn't even protest the stoppage. She was done. So very impressive win for Danielle Perkins. Price Taylor had another stoppage win. Probably his best performance yet. You also had Samantha Worthington lose to Soledad Matisse. who's like a grandma. They were saying she's 40, and she beat the crap out of Samantha Worthington. Like over like, at the beginning, Worthington won the first round or two, and then it just starts getting Matisse starts getting warm and more warmed up, and then she starts just really like not letting Worthington breathe at all, just full pedal to the metal. And then after 8 rounds, where Worthington is undoubtedly down on the scorecards, but still in the fight, she quits. She stays in her on her stool and says, "I'm done. I'm done." Which I respect. Just being like, "Hey, I'm not winning this fight. I'm not gonna sit here. I'm not gonna risk myself. I'm just gonna call it quits. Live to fight another day." But yeah, what a win for Soledad Matisse. She's now WBA interim super lightweight championship again with Katie Taylor likely on her way out. She could be upgraded. It was a very fun prelims on that they did on the Zeus Network. A lot of solid prospects being shown, and it was fight after fight after fight. So I enjoyed it. Good event from Salida. There was also a Box Lab promotion show on Friday night, which I watched. Alex Bray got a dominant win in the main event against Rodrigo Coria. Danier Pero, I love Danier Pero. He forces Donald Hainsworth to quit after 2 rounds. Wish he could have gotten like an actual knockout, but you don't really get to choose. I thought that was a pretty good performance from him. And then also the only other fight that I want to mention was Giovanni Luis getting knocked out by Jose Fernandez. I believe he was an undefeated prospect. I think he was like 3-0, and then Fernandez was like 2-1 or something. Fernandez one punch KO'd him, put him to sleep, and that went a little bit viral on Twitter. But I just wanted to shout him out because I thought that was awesome. But moving on from that, let's talk about some more news because we've still got a lot to talk about. UFC 327, it's been officially announced for Miami, Florida, finally. As was also announced, is Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira for the flyweight championship. We knew this fight was going to happen. There's rumors it could be him and Manel Kape in March, and then it seemed like no, they're going to do Taira in April because they already promised it to him. This feels like a great fight. I think this makes a little bit more sense than the Kape one, but I'm not mad at it. I think Kape also made just as much sense. Maybe Manel Kape fights Kyoji Horiguchi now to officially get that title shot. I don't know. But I'm glad they're going to keep Joshua Van active. He wants to stay active while Pantoja is recovering before they inevitably rematch. It's a really, really good fight at flyweight. And what's interesting, it's not the main event, or at least they're not saying it. They didn't announce it as such. And if you go on the UFC website, it has a picture of them, but it says TBD versus TBD for the main event. So I think they're still working on Yuri Prochazka, Carlos Ulberg for the vacant light heavyweight title, and that will be the main event on April 11th in Miami, which I would love if we got 2 title fights on a UFC card in 2026, as it seems like we're not getting 1 title fight on a card. So yeah, really happy that fight's announced, and we also got some of the undercards announced today. So like I said, it was also announced Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker. People were saying there's gonna be a double KO in that fight. This is kind of a fun light heavyweight fight. Both guys, in similar spots. Azamat Mirzakhanov is going to fight Paulo Costa. We heard about this one as well. Paulo Costa moving up to 205, getting a big fight there. You've got Curtis Blades fighting Josh Hokett, which is a huge... again, we knew this was happening, got reported, but it's still just a huge shock that they're going to push Josh Hokett up to a top 4 matchup. Like, what? He's not even ranked. He's had 2 fights in the UFC. So, look, I get he's becoming a star with his promos he cuts, and he's a character in heavyweight. Is pretty ass, but you're giving him one of the better guys in the division in Curtis Blades. So we'll see which way that one goes for him, but interesting. Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. Tatiana Suarez versus Lupe Godinez. You've got Cub Swanson coming back after a while fighting Nate Landwehr. And then Kyle Daukaus versus Vicente Luque at middleweight. So good fights all the way around. I'm excited for that card. I really am. Again, it feels like all these UFC cards are just missing something about them, like one other big fight to put on the card. Except for I don't know. It's just some of them haven't all had good co-main events. We just still don't know what is actually going to be co-main event for 326. I think it's just going to end up being RDR versus Kaio, which is not a bad fight, but as for co-main event, I would have liked something a little bit bigger. But this one, like I said, it looks like we're going to get 2 title fights and the rest of those fights, so I'm very much down for it. Moving on from that, it was also rumored that Khamzat was going to fight Yuri to headline that card. And I'm just bringing this up now because I only saw it on one Twitter page, and maybe 2. It went viral for 10 minutes and then kind of got put to rest, but saying that Khamzat was going to move up to 205 and fight Yuri, as he's been wanting to do. and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't love that because it feels like they're still setting up Sean versus Hamzat, still setting up, Yuri versus Olberg. I don't know. It was just weird. I'm like, what happens? I don't know if that's the plan. I don't think it is, but I thought it was very odd how that popped up for a second as a possibility and then went away. So we'll see. Maybe that still is a possibility. It was also announced that Benavidez and Zurdo are going to fight May 2nd at the T-Mobile Arena. I watched the press conference. I'm excited for it. Not really much to say because we've known this fight is happening for the longest time. I think it's cool Benavidez is going to go up to cruiserweight and then come back down to light heavyweight. He does look a little bit smaller, but still think he can do it. Now, what's interesting is that this is a PBC pay-per-view. It's not a Ring Magazine card, which I thought was interesting because if you take the two PBC versus Golden Boy pay-per-view fights we had this year, which Mario Barrios, Ryan Garcia, and then this one, I thought beforehand that Barrios Garcia was going to be a PBC card. That's what it seemed like. And then it gets announced as Ring Magazine. I was like, oh. And then I'd assumed because Benavidez called out Zurdo after the Anthony Yard win, and Ring Magazine was reporting all of that and stuff, it seemed like, okay, this is going to be a ring card on on Cinco de Mayo weekend. And then it comes out, oh, it's not. It's a PBC card. So both times I was surprised with who the promoter is. But look, I'm very much down for it. I'm excited for this fight. It's going to be a big one, and just boxing is just in such a good place right now. We're getting big fight after big fight announced, including apparently the same day, Naoya Inoue, Junto Nakatani are set for May 2nd at the Tokyo Dome. Again, we've already known this. It's already been reported a ton, but it was just reported again by Mike Covender saying it's not just a plan, like it's happening, it's a done deal. It hasn't been announced yet officially. Maybe this is considered the announcement. I don't know if this is a Ring Magazine card as well. I don't think it is. Maybe it's just a Tokyo or a Taken and Ohashi card, the Tokyo Dome. I don't know, but we'll see. But again, if we're getting Inoue, Nakatani, and Benavidez Zurdo on the same day on May 2nd, dude, we are eating good, bro. We're eating good. Speaking of big fights, McGregor says that the comeback could be against a no-name. He continues. He's just saying he could fight anyone. He continues just pushing for the UFC to send him a contract, saying, again, I accept, send me a contract. What I think is that this is a negotiation tactic. I think he's asking for a shit ton of money, and he's putting it out there saying, like, look, I accepted. I was ready for a fight. They didn't want to give it to me. It's not my fault. Where the UFC is like, bro, we can't pay you $40 million, So I think that's what's happening here, is that they're trying to get this deal sorted, and he's making it difficult and putting all of his cards on the table, which I think is smart, but we'll see. Of another comeback, Calvin Ford says that Tank Davis will be returning in a big fight. I honestly don't even really want to talk about it because I just don't believe it. Mainly because he's probably going to go to prison. He's going to go to court for the crimes he just committed. And I mean, I feel like Tank himself says he wants to retire and try and get his mental health better. And I think that that's more important than him coming back and fighting, Pitbull Cruz in a rematch or whatever their big fight they're talking about is. If Tank Davis does come back and he wants to fight like Shakur, I'm like, bro, please sign me up. But that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Okay. Carlos Adames, Emma Williams is happening March 21st in Orlando. So on the Box Lab show, afterwards, the promoter says something like, yeah, we'll be back March 21st with a big announcement coming soon. It's like, okay. Saying he's going to do a lot of work with Matchroom and MVP this year. And I'm like, interesting. And then it gets reported by Coppinger saying, like, look, that is a done deal, that they've rescheduled this fight, and then it gets announced right after for the Crib Royale. I mean, this is an interesting fight. It was meant to happen January 31st, was called off during fight week, which sucks, but I'm surprised they're getting it back so quickly. It seemed like Adames could have been moving up to 168. Wasn't sure that Emma was going to get to have his title shot, get that back, but he is, and they're going to deliver for him, which I think is awesome. But it's just a very weird fight that I feel like wasn't something that was needed per se. Like, oh my gosh, like this is a needed fight. But it's a good one, and I'm glad to see Adames get to come back so quickly. And Ammo, I mean, he went full 10 rounds in January, and he's returning in less than 2 months to fight a world champion. So excited. Amari Jones, of course, is going to be on the undercard. Just a lot of good tickets in Orlando. And then Tara Moana as well will be back. They've got to have a fight night coming up soon in Australia, saying they're going to do like 7 a year. I think the plan is to do something with like Sky Nicholson in April is what somebody said. I hope that Tara Moana would be on that. He's got to stay active. But good to see he's back out at all. And then we had a lot of UFC main events announced. Let's just run through them. Renato Moicano versus Chris Duncan is going to headline UFC Vegas 115 on April 4th. Very fun lightweight fight. Moicano is meant to fight Brian Ortega. Ortega pulls out of that one. Moicano off the March card. But he's going to get to have a main event now against Chris Duncan, which I think is actually a pretty good matchup. Moicano will likely be a favorite, but that's a very, very fun fight. A good opportunity for Duncan. Some people saying, why couldn't this be co-main event on the London card? Which I'm like, okay, fine, but for an Apex main event, I'll take it. It was also announced that Gilbert Burns versus Mike Malott is going to be headlining UFC Winnipeg on April 18th. They shifted it from Ottawa. We already knew this fight was happening for the card, but I was hoping it wasn't going to be main event. I don't understand why Burns keeps on getting all these main event shots when he just keeps on getting finished in all of them, and Mike Malott is not the best fighter in the world. I mean, like, he gets a lot of big opportunities and soft touches. I think he's a solid prospect, but feels like we got to push him up to be in a tough fight soon. Um, but yeah, so that's going to be the main event, which is, again, I was hoping this would be like co-main event or something, and we have something bigger, but oh well. And then week after, so that's headlining a road show, and then week after, the Apex is Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley, which is a really good fight. Two guys coming off of losses in the welterweight division, where everyone else is talking about, like, okay, who's going to fight who between all these guys that are winning, and then you got the two guys who's like, okay, well, we'll just fight each other. They've both been calling for fights, or at least Buckley has, and I think there's a really good opportunity for one of them to get back on track. It's a great matchup, and I feel like it's better than an Apex main event. I don't know if it headlines another card, but this could go in a pay-per-view or something, or be maybe a roadshow main event. It's just such a fun matchup in my eyes. But yeah, they're gonna do it at the Apex, which is whatever. Yeah, April 25th, we're getting that. I was not expecting that announcement, but I love it. And then the PFL announced that Paul Hughes is going to be fighting J.J. Wilson April 16th in Belfast. I love that Paul Hughes is getting to stay active. J.J. Wilson is a good fighter. I believe they're number 1 and 4 ranked at lightweight. So, yeah, bringing that fight to Belfast. And that is going to be PFL's 4th show in the span of 1 month. March 20th, they're in Madrid. March 28th, they're in Pittsburgh. April 11th, they're in Chicago. And just 5 days later, in April 16th, they're in Belfast. So that is awesome. How consistent they're going to be becoming. I love this new format they're doing with only the big shows, only the big fights. It is actually getting me excited for PFL events as opposed to just like the tournament structure, which are still fine, but yeah, really, really liking it. Top Rank and ESPN are apparently there's positive talks of reigniting their deal, their broadcast deal. I don't really want to talk about it too much because I don't know how much I believe it, but Top Rank needs a new home. Nobody else will take them, or at least think that they're too good for any place that will take them. So they've been homeless for 7 months. And then ESPN is out of boxing, and I think they may be kind of looking around. They're seeing the numbers it's doing on DAZN, numbers doing on ESPN, on Paramount, and they're like, you know what, or sorry, on Netflix, not ESPN, but like maybe we should get back into it. And they and Top Rank had a good relationship. I know that they probably put way too much money into Top Rank and didn't get delivered, so it would be a smaller budget, I'm sure. But yeah, I hope that this does come true and we get that because we just need both back in boxing. MF Pro announced that Denzel Bentley versus Eris, or sorry, what was I going to say? I don't know. Denzel Bentley versus Endry Saavedra is going to fight for the WBO interim middleweight title April 4th on the Derek Chisora Deontay Wilder undercard. So that's 3 really good fights now that have been added. Very, very fun fight. This fight's been talked about for so long. It was ordered like a year ago and then just wasn't happening, wasn't getting put together. Now it finally is. It's official. Winner's in a very good position, likely to get upgraded. The WBO is not stripping Janibek, but they're suspending him for a year. I don't know when that year started. I don't know if it started this week or if it started in December. Who knows? But he won't be fighting for a while, or at least not with the WBO title. I assume not at all. Feels like they kind of should just strip him. But anyways, winner of this is going to get to fight him for that full title. It's a good fight to go on that card. Very stacked card. They also announced that Matty Harris is going to be fighting Franklin Ignatius on it, which isn't a huge fight, but a fight between 2 okay heavyweight prospects in the UK. I don't hate it. It seems like literally MF Pro is just Wasserman now. I think the Channel 5 days are done. They also, MF Pro posted like happy birthday to Harlem Eubank, which also just kind of confirmed to me, okay, so everybody on Wasserman is just now an MF Pro fighter, but I think it made sense to just kind of combine those entities. Unfortunately, it was said today that Lewis Crocker is injured and that the Liam Paro fight has been postponed. This sucks. I feel bad for Liam Paro because he had the Paddy Donovan fight canceled on him, and now the world title fight is being pushed back, but soon enough it'll happen. I was wondering why it hadn't been announced yet when it was supposed to happen in like March.
but this would explain it. Meanwhile, the IBF also announced that Karen Chukajan and Patty Donovan are going to have an eliminator fight. They're ordering one. I like that matchup. I don't know who I favor. I probably favor Karen in that. So we'll see if Matchroom wins that one. We know they did not win the purse bid against Karen the first time when he had to rematch Boots, but they still put on the fight. But it is what it is. Also in the welterweight division, Echo Esserman has apparently turned down the Conor Walker fight in May. I'm not sure why. That sucks because that was a British fight I wanted to see so bad. But Conor Walker will still have a good fight. He'll still headline in Wolverhampton, I'm sure, and he'll still be getting close to a world title shot. I don't have a doubt about it. He was almost got the Lewis Crocker fight, and he's becoming a world level fighter. So I'd love to see it. What we don't love to see is that GBM and DAZN are not renewing their deal. It seems like DAZN didn't want to, and would make sense with them bringing on, they've brought on Queensberry since then. They've got something kind of going with Boxer maybe. They also now have a deal with MF Pro, and that's really the main one. So I think they just kind of decided, like, look, we're GBM, we don't really do a lot of shows with them. They didn't do anything huge with us. But that sucks because they're having good momentum. I mean, they had the really good stadium show last year. The Heist is such an interesting thing they're going to go full speed with this year and even go international with it. So I hope they still have a good deal. People are saying maybe they go on to Channel 5 and take Wasserman's slot. Maybe they're one of the many promoters that Sky Sports is looking to work with. I doubt Sky Sports is just going to be with MVP. They'll probably be with Zuffa. Maybe they're with GBM as well. I don't know. But this sucks because I thought the GBM was really growing well in boxing, and it would suck to see them, kind of fall off. Some updates with ProBox TV. The fight between Rene Tejas Giron and Luis Torres is off. I believe that Tejas got injured, which is very, very unfortunate because that was going to be a banger on Friday. But yeah, Vasquez versus Machuca is now going to be the main event. And then also, I don't think that they've actually put out an official announcement for it yet, but if you go onto their YouTube and you look at their upcoming schedule, they have another card set for March 28th in Long Beach, California. It's going to be headlined by Brian Acosta versus Ronnie Rios, which is a pretty fun matchup. I like that fight. And then you're also going to have Carlos Balderas fighting Jorge de Jesus, so a good fight between two rising guys. And then Adelaida Ruiz versus Ginny Fuchs for the WBC Super Flyweight title. That's a really good fight. So I'm excited for that March 28th card that ProBox has coming up. They're cooking. Some updates to the Magnificent 7 card, some changes. So Zach Miller is injured, so it's not going to be Liam Davies versus Francesco Grandelli for the EBU European featherweight title. I'm obviously very upset because I thought Davies versus Miller is one of the best fights on that card, but this is a really good save, bringing Grandelli and having that be for the European title. Still a solid fight, 1 month out. As well, Aqib Fiaz is out against Jordan Flynn, and now Michael Gomez Jr. is going to be fighting him. So all three of those guys that I just mentioned were all Matchroom fighters that recently lost, and it seems like they've all just now, are no longer with Matchroom. I mean, I believe that Fiaz and Gomez were supposed to fight themselves in July, and then Fiaz gets announced to fight Flynn here, and now it's Gomez versus Flynn, which I actually think is a better matchup overall probably, but maybe. I mean, Gomez versus Fiaz I would prefer. But it's just kind of weird, how all these Matchroom guys are now going over to Queensberry with no announcement of their signing or them leaving, anything. But you know what? Again, a solid replacement that Queensberry got. And then lastly, it was announced today that BKFC Clearwater 3, seems like a lot of the places they go to multiple times for fight nights are going to now be numbered. Like Mohegan Sun 3 is coming up. Anyways, on April 24th, it's going to be headlined by Jared Warren versus Connor Cook. Solid fight there. And then coming event is going to be William Reber back against Joshua Oxendine. So I'm a big fan of BKFC. I think that they've got their Knucklemania card was awesome, and I'm just hopeful they can keep on giving us big main events. And it looks like they're going to try and do that. But that's all I've got for today. It was a very, very long episode, as I expected it to be. A lot of news. Mayweather Pacquiao 2 is just blowing my mind. Conor Benn to Zuffa boxing. And then Brian Garcia becoming world champion. Sean Strickland, Claressa Shields, Leigh Wood. Just what a weekend. But anyways, thank you all so much for listening. I'll do another episode probably Friday previewing Vaquero versus Sugar, Navarrete Nunes. I cannot wait for that fight. But anyways, thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.